Hey friends, Kalani here, and I just finished a music therapy session with some TBI, traumatic brain injury clients, and I wanted to share a little bit about that session with you so you can understand more about music therapy and how music therapists think, at least how I think as a music therapist, and what kind of happens in a session. So this was a session at a facility where I do weekly group music therapy sessions. And in this session, I had 3 clients and a translator. One of the clients spoke Spanish and had a Spanish translator. When I do have foreign language speakers and people who don't necessarily speak English, I try to just stay in the music more. I don't do a lot of talking. I don't do a lot of explaining. I give prompts. For example, we started to move to the music and I played some songs about gratitude and about being thankful. I have a whole playlist. And this is our warm-up just to get into the feeling. Today I decided to kind of root the session in this idea of being grateful for things that we have. Often when people are in a clinical setting, they're thinking about what they don't have. They don't have their full health. They don't have the freedom. They don't have access to their job at the time. They don't have access to their family and their loved ones. So they can feel often very depleted. So what I try to do sometimes is, underlying all the time, is to focus on what we do have, focus on what we can be grateful for, what we can have gratitude for, all the good things in life. Because we all do have a lot. Life itself is the greatest gift, and if we can focus on that, I think we can feel rich, we can feel spiritually wealthy, even if we're not particularly feeling at our best. So that was the focus. We did a warm-up, we listened to music, we moved to music, we stretched. I had them lead different movements and we took turns. So immediately there's a feeling of empowerment, of sharing. It's not about me, telling them what to do. I'm there as a facilitator of their wellness and recovery. So we went with this theme of gratitude, and I asked them to think about something that they were grateful for. And then people shared what they were grateful for. One gentleman said that his son was lost and then he recently was found. He showed up, his son showed up, so that's amazing. Another woman shared that she's just grateful to be alive because of her accident, she almost wasn't. And I mean, if that doesn't make you feel grateful, I don't know what will. And then a third gentleman who has very little verbal ability at this particular time, he just said, the ocean. He was grateful for the ocean. And yes, shouldn't we all be? The ocean is the source of much of our food, of much of our oxygen, and actually, ultimately, of life itself on Earth. So everything comes from the ocean, basically. So I used that as material then to reflect back, and I said, you know what, I have a song about the ocean that is about abundance. And this is where having musical skills and knowledge and training come in handy, because I was immediately able to go through my Rolodex and pull out the card of a song called Yemaya, that is a spiritual song from the Santeria religion as practiced in Cuba. And it's a combination of West African religious practices and Christianity. And I gave them a little bit of background. I told them kind of what it was about, and we talked about that. So I was able to bring in historical, cultural context. And it so happened that translator, who was translating for the gentleman who speaks Spanish, also knows a Cuban woman who practices Santeria, and so she already knew a lot of this stuff. And I showed them photos of Yemaya, the goddess of the sea. And we talked a little bit about how it's all about abundance and about being grateful for everything you have. So, and then we did this song. And I had them sway like the ocean, because this is in a swaying rhythm. So I had them sit forward and we're swaying. And this is, of course, exercise for them. And it's all about moving their body, but also moving their emotions and their spirit, and focusing on what's good. So we sang this song. Yemaya sesu, asesu yemaya, yemaya sesu, asesu yemaya, yemaya olodo, olodo yemaya. with that. That's working on their breath support. It's introducing beauty, which is very important in people's lives, especially in a clinical setting. It was helping them move. It's helping them think about what it is that they want to be, asking for, and also what they're grateful for. And it just gave them another way to think about bounty, about they learned something cultural. Like I said, I showed them pictures, paintings, renderings of the sea goddess. We talked about the flow of the ocean, and we incorporated that into the movement. I gave them some things to move, and this is working on their motor skills, on their coordination, but it's all encompassed or contained within this beautiful song that has real meaning and that is a thing. So this isn't just a made up, song that I came up with to get them to do something. This is actually introducing something very deep and real. So we did that for a while, and then that had kind of run its course a little bit. And then I said, I have another song for you guys about the sea. And this one, I just introduced the rhythm, and I had them play along, and I sang the song. Kimi sinyo anada, kimi sinyo anada, fui marinheiro, fui os peixinhos do mar, fui marinheiro, fui os peixinhos do mar. So this is a song in Portuguese. Now we're down in Brazil, and this is a song where somebody's asking, who taught you how to swim? And this is a sailor is asking somebody, the person in the song, who's singing the song, who taught you how to swim? And he says, it was the fishes of the sea. And this again is kind of a song that children would sing in Brazil. It's a folk song. Actually, it's been recorded by Milton Nascimento and other people. It's not a children's song, it's a folk song. But the message there is, and this is what I left them with today, is we talked about, we can learn things from people, but ultimately, at least the person in this song, and ultimately for ourselves, we can learn things from the world, right? From our experience and from observing things. You've probably heard about multiple intelligences, Howard Gardner, and one of the ways that he says people learn is from nature. People that learn from observing nature and maybe, learning to swim by watching the fish, or learning to dance by watching a paper bag float, or a plastic bag float in the breeze. Whatever it is, we become our teachers. And so I left them with that at the end of the session. I just reminded them that yes, you have therapists, and yes, you have some coaches, and yes, you have some teachers, as we all have teachers in our lives, but ultimately you are the source of your own wisdom and knowledge, and everything you need to, and I apply this to myself and to everybody, everything we need to learn how to be in the world and how to heal and how to be well is available to us in the world. And it's a matter of interacting and learning and paying attention. So I think they got that, and hopefully they had a renewed sense of empowerment and not feeling so much like, a victim, but like people that could take a little more control of their lives and be grateful, but also be empowered to do more and to teach themselves and to take, a leadership role in their own life, rather than being somebody who's just disempowered or in treatment or dependent. So that's a little recap, but I want to say I'm grateful for having access to music as a tool to help me to provide other people with the therapy they need to feel better and to grow and to step out into the world again in whatever capacity that means for them, or for however much progress they can make. As a music therapist, I'm just grateful for music and for the way music helps me, helps to help them. And I want to reiterate that we're not just doing whatever, we're using the meaning of songs, we're using quality music. In many cases, we're using music that is folk music, that's been passed down, that's got cultural meaning and relevance. So it's not just, sound, it's not just vibration, it's not just improvising all the time, doing whatever, but it's me drawing from musical richness and cultural history and things that I feel will be useful in that moment. Because when I started that session, I didn't have any plan, except I had an idea. And I also want to point out that to me, this is what facilitation is, and this is what a therapist does, is use what you're given and then create something valuable for your clients, or if you're a music teacher, to create something valuable for your students. Or if you're a facilitator and you just do community music making for wellness, to create something of value, but to do it within that moment because of what you see and who's there and what the mood is and what they're thinking about and what they're feeling in that moment. And that's the skill. All right, I hope you enjoyed watching this and learned something. If you have any questions for me about what I do as a music therapist or music educator, you can contact me at kalanidas@gmail.com. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting music and music therapy and music education.